Hello again, folks, and welcome along to another recording. And my name is Samantha Coughlin. This is Teddy, who always insists on being on the show. He's asleep at the moment because he's been sick waiting on me to start recording. But he is so used to me sitting down here to start recording that he sits up here waiting for me. So what I wanted to talk to you tonight about is wearing glasses this evening because my eyes are a little bit tired. What I wanted to talk to you this evening about, folks, is some of these blogs which, in order to get viewers, many bloggers are starting to do haunted house and paranormal investigations and all that kind of stuff to hype up viewers. A lot of this footage and a lot of these investigations isn't proper investigations. People go into houses and next things start moving and all the rest of it. And a lot of this stuff is, to put it mildly, a little bit fiction. It's their reactions do not correspond with the actual event, and this hampers people that are doing paranormal investigations for real. I haven't done paranormal investigations. I don't intend to do it. I was very interested in the paranormal, but people are starting to copy these programs we see on television. Paranormal events do not just occur because some place is haunted and they go in and everything starts playing up straight away. It doesn't happen like that. Sometimes, in real investigations, there is a lot of boring waiting, and there is a lot of time where there is nothing happening and stuff like that. Now, I have gone to a few haunted locations, and I have filmed in the past about what was reported to have happened there. One of these locations was a place called Cooneen Ghost House in County Fermanagh. It's a small cottage built in the late 1800s possibly, but from 1913 to 1915 a woman called Bridget Murphy and her 6 children lived in the house. And from 1913 to 1915, there was a number of documented poltergeist occurrences in the house. So much so that 2 priests were called in, and the 2 priests were called in to help the family. The priests also experienced paranormal activity and poltergeist activity, and eventually Bridget Murphy and her children emigrated to America. They just had enough of the house and all the rest of it. So this house it's basically in the woods in County Fermanagh. Belonged to the Forestry Commission, and it is in partial ruin now. It's a small cottage, nothing exciting, but nothing good has ever been said about it. Now, myself and friend at one stage went to see the house after seeing a documentary on YouTube about it. So my friend stayed in the car, and I went in with my cameras and equipment and that. I wanted to go in there with fresh eyes, and partly to try and prove the documentary wrong. I was only in there for half an hour. From the minute I went in to the minute I left, things started happening. There was a small attic in the house where it was, the way that the building is in state at the moment, it is impossible to get up into that attic. But I was standing on a concrete floor while hearing wooden footsteps above my head. And at the time I was filming and just telling the story. I was hearing it above my head. It scared me so much that I just continued talking. I tried to drown it out and all the rest of it. But I did stick my camera up there, couldn't find anything, couldn't find a logical explanation for it. But I wanted to go in there with fresh eyes. I didn't want fear to be a factor of it, but it became a factor, as it were. In one area of the house, there was a severe smell of sulphur that was lingering around one particular room, and that particular room, the roof had been removed. So, in normal circumstances, that smell would have escaped out through the roof, and it just lingered in that room. In another room, which is the bedroom, that is reported to be the most haunted room and where a lot of activity happens. I could feel a cold chill. It was kind of cold anyway, but that ice cold chill, I could feel that ice cold chill along the side of my face, and an overwhelming fear. Now, psychologically, people are scared, but when the fear comes from the pit of your stomach, it's a different kind of fear, if you can understand what I'm saying. But in that particular room as well, an orb of static, a white orb of static, came out of one of the walls, passed over my head and went into the wall on the far side. And as this static charge went across, my hair lifted, and I could feel the static, like similar to the feeling of cobwebs or spiders' webs. I haven't got an awful lot of footage. I have one piece of footage that I uploaded. There's not an awful lot on it, but if you put a pair of headphones on, you may hear a faint male voice in the background, which I didn't discover until I get home, but it is very, very faint. I wouldn't call it a Class A EVP at all, but it is there. It's unexplainable. And one of the things about some of these bloggers that go into haunted houses and say, oh, there's a ghost doing this and there's a ghost doing that, a proper investigator will try and debunk an event before they class it as a paranormal event. I couldn't debunk anything that happened in Cooneen House, and unfortunately some of the stuff I couldn't even prove, because a lot of the evidence that's gathered is in a person's body, in the way they feel, the way they smell, and that is not often captured on camera. And it's a very, very rare occasion where we will actually see an actual a spirit or a ghost. Most of the evidence that is picked up is picked up by the body, in the way we feel, the way the way that we feel, the way we smell, the smells in the room and stuff like that. So one of the things that started happening the minute I went in was camera equipment just kept turning off. I had a small video camera, and I had a phone as well. Both kept turning off. And after about a half an hour, I went. Before I went in, I had full batteries on everything. Those batteries drained within a half an hour, and many other people have reported the same thing. And funny enough, the battery in my camera fully drained, but when I got back home, the indicator was 3/4 full again. So a lot of these events and a lot of these things are still not proved by science. They're still trying to figure it out. What is draining energy from batteries? What is draining energy from the human body? And how some of these things are happening. But I will say one thing. After visiting the Cooneen House, not even doing an investigation, just walking through, talking about the history, talking about the haunted history, and while talking about the haunted history and all these things happening, I will be in no hurry to go back, because I just had this horrible negative feeling in there. And I went in there with fresh eyes. I went in there, as far as I was concerned, that was a small house, a small ruin of a house on a piece of land that had some haunted history, and it could possibly be a story. And this documentary that I've watched is possibly dramatized to lure in the viewers, but I can safely say that this particular documentary, everything they have said on it, was actually true. And one of the people that were involved in the documentary said in a radio program that they were some of their crew, film crew, were actually physically sick, which happened to me after that half hour. The smell of sulphur was so bad in there that when I left, I got just outside 5 Mile Town when I had to stop, and I was violently sick. And unfortunately, I had been sick for a couple of weeks after that. And I couldn't really explain it, and I had this heaviness over me. So one of the things I will say, folks, is, if you want to go doing paranormal investigations, that is your own thing, but communication and trying to get evidence by trying to communicate and things like that. Just be aware that you do not know who you're communicating with or what you're communicating with, things have happened to people. In a physical sense, if somebody does something bad to you, you have a physical way of protecting yourself. How do you fight something you can't see? So, I wanted to do paranormal investigations, but even just going through that house and just telling the story and then experiencing everything that I experienced, I will not go back, and I will not do a paranormal investigation. I just, you know, I just, there's other things in my life. I do not want to feel the sickness that I felt after leaving that house, and I do not want to feel the heaviness I felt for weeks afterwards, after leaving that house. You know, yes, we feel sick, and what do you call it? It was a different kind of sickness and a different kind of heaviness that I would normally experience. But my friend who was sitting in the car all the time said that when I came down to the car and drove off, I was very. He said it just didn't feel like me. I was very angry. I was very agitated, and I was very agitated the whole way home. I just don't want to mess with these things anymore. The safe thing to do is just watch it on television. It's entertaining and stuff like that, but I'm going to leave it to the experts. This particular house, there was nothing ever good said about it. It was all negative. And I made the mistake of going and in the back of my mind hoping that I would see evidence on. It is very, very rare that somebody goes into a house or into a haunted location and things start happening straight away, but that's what happened. The whole half an hour equipment started playing up, and even the watch that I had on stopped, if that is your thing, but I would strongly suggest areas that have negative hauntings behind them, I would just stay away from them. It is just not a good thing to be messing with. So, and I would say please do not get involved with things like that. You cannot fight what you can't see. It is very, very difficult, and things do happen to people. It's just I just would rather not go there. So that's my rant over today about my haunting experiences. I hopefully will not have haunting experiences in my upcoming and future videos. I'm going to go to exciting locations and let you see what I see, basically. And we will make it up as we go along. Ideas come into my head, I will write them down, ideas of places and stuff like that. Today we were in another abandoned mental health hospital grounds with abandoned buildings. I am still trying to upload the footage. I can't get it. It just doesn't seem to upload. But yesterday was pretty exciting. We were in another abandoned group of buildings belong to a mental health facility, which looked like an abandoned town. If you haven't seen that, go watch it. Give us some likes, folks. And Teddy's very quiet tonight. He normally wants to get involved, but he's a bit sleepy, and so is my other dog. My other dog doesn't want to get involved in videos at all, but Teddy does. But I will leave it for now, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow. And as always, folks, look after each other. See you in the next video, folks. Thank you.